I am speaking on my feet, and I'm saying to you now that maybe many people will not say it openly. I stand this afternoon because I feel strongly about it. And I feel that the Speaker, in her position as the Prime Minister's wife and as a female, yes, I say it as it is because that's part of the objection. But let me tell you something. Never before has anybody been as disrespectful. And I could go on and on.
The words of the former Speaker, Marisa Dalrymple-Philibert, may sound for all the world to be very mild, but they were absolutely stinging. And when you listen to Nekeisha Burchell's reply, a video that she did in South St. James, again, equalize up herself with our national hero Sam Sharp, talking about what kind of rebellious blood running through her vein or courage and, those words, as if she and Smaddy fight, right? Sam Sharp was a man who ended up by sacrificing his life because he wanted the freedom of his people and himself and his family and his future generations, such as they are. And he worked out a plan to bring it about. The British in the parliament were talking about how happy the slaves were. They don't want freedom. What would they do with it? And he was a man who could read, he was a pastor, and he could read. And so he read all the things that they were saying in the British Parliament and elsewhere. And it was from the information that he had read that he decided that this was the best way to approach the matter. They needed a big slave rebellion. If not a rebellion, at least the appearance of it. Engineering a huge slave rebellion was no small feat. On those slave plantations, you had many who are like Philip Aldwell, gutless and weak. And so he knew that having a violent eruption alone may not cut it. And that's when he and his other co-conspirators came up with the idea of a strike, safe enough, and that could be sold to the slaves and gain them trust and, of course, participation. And that was all he needed. He just needed them to participate in the rebellion. And so he hatched a plan. He and 6 others of his members, he had to keep it tight. People like Nekeisha Burchell and her character. It was people like her, Sam Sharp, and his co-conspirators had to worry about. These are the people who like power and powerful men. So she would not have been looking at Sam Sharp. Oh no. She would have been looking at Bakra in the mansion. Yes, in the great house. And so he had to keep his circle of friends and trusty friends very tight. In the video you're about to watch, you will hear Nekeisha Burchell refer to one of her forebears, Thomas Burchell. And of course, Burchell would have had to kept all of what he's doing with Sam Sharp if he was part of the rebellion a secret, especially from a Nekeisha Burchell who may have been around at the time, a little too tight with Bakra and could not be trusted. His plan was very simple: to get involved not just the rebellious ones, but also the ones that are unlikely to join them in the rebellion, and while at the same time encouraging them to keep it secret. All this while, it was very important that they identify those slaves in the plantation house that they know they could not trust. And those would be the slaves like Nekeisha Burchell, who fancy a bit of power and powerful men. So she would not have been on the side of the slaves, even though she would have been one. She would have been on the side of Bakra, because that is where she would get her satisfaction: association with powerful people and powerful men. So the brilliant plan that Samshar came up with was that we should have a one-day strike. That doesn't sound very threatening. That don't sound like we're going to get much beaten. And we certainly don't sound like we would lose our life over. And that was how they were able to convince the slaves to participate. And of course, them had to keep it quiet. And they succeeded. The British moved their ships, but they moved their ships in St. Elizabeth and I do believe in Hanover. Ships with troops because they knew something was up. Where they never had ships, my understanding is from history, was in Montego Bay. So clearly, if that is where the British stationed the ships with the troops, then that would suggest that Sam Sharp had played a little game with them, put out the information that something is going to happen, and it's going to happen in St. Elizabeth and in Hanover. That was a misdirection. And for a successful misdirection, you need now the character of somebody like a Nekeisha Burchell. Tell her, and you know she'd go back to tell Bakra. Say it look like something is up, and them say St. Elizabeth and Hanover. It'll go occur, right? That is how useful she would have been to Sam Sharp rebellion. In other words, anything that Sam Sharp would have wanted Bakra to know, it is somebody like a Nekeisha Burchell he would find. Somebody who likes powerful men, very powerful men, and Bakra would have been the most powerful, and in the Great House, and carry back news. Yes, man. Because it is in her interest to protect the Great House from the slaves, even though she would have been a slave herself. And that is the use to which Sam Sharp would have had for her. And that would have been the extent of her courage in Sam Sharp's rebellion. So when I finally play that video of Nekeisha Burchell, I wanted to bear all of that in mind and more. In the PNP, we had classified these risers as traitors. Traitors because as members of the People's National Party, their duty was to protect the party and help the party to win elections. That's the whole purpose of a political party, to win elections. But they wanted power for themselves. And when they did not get it, they decided to burn down the party, so to speak. Right? And then get rid of the man who was there, fight with them fake groups, and they won. So this is the nature of the character that I'm talking about, that will be telling you about the courage and what running through her vein and all them kind of something about her forebears, Thomas Burchell, and you hear to talk about Cross the Hill. You know, that was Sam Sharp, and we in the hill, we don't bow. Yes, because she's a damn traitor to her own party. So it's not surprising that she should think that when she's in the parliament, the house that belongs to the people, where power is dispensed, where laws are made, it would not be a surprise for a character such as her to go inside there thinking that what she ought to do is not the people's business, that the people sent her there to do. It is about herself and what it is that she believes she can gain. There is no reason to bow. The standing orders are there to regulate the parliament. In the same way, you have the civil procedure rules that are there to regulate the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. The rules are there for the benefit of all members, all 63. If you have an idea that you want a law to be passed, you think it's beneficial to the people of this country, you can move a motion irrespective of whether you're on the government side or on the opposition side. All you have to do is walk over across the aisle if you're on the opposition and talk to the members over there. Just talk to them and see if you can convince them to vote with you. And if it is indeed a good law that is in keeping with the government's policy, and you can't leave that out of it. It can't be about your policy that you would put in place. It has to be in accordance with government policy. And then they will side with you. Even if at the end of the day, they have to say, or you can take the credit. It is their policy. So both sides can take the credit. So the laws and the rules of the House, the standing orders, is there for everybody. And what they want to do these risers is to cheat. They don't want to stick to when it is that they must speak. They want to speak out of turn and they want to bully the speaker and talk about and give her a bad name, talking about she not fair and she not allowing them to speak. How can she not allow you to speak if you have a right to speak? Once you have a right to speak, which is when you're allowed to speak, how can she stop you? And if she's stopping you and you don't like it, why is it up till now none of you have moved a motion challenging the ruling of the speaker? Why not do it? The standing orders allow you to do it. Move the motion challenging her ruling. Don't go on social media. If you believe you're so right, move the motion. And even if the motion fails, it doesn't matter. You will get a chance to hear your grouse and everybody will hear about it. Right? But no, that is not what it is about. It is about her, according to Isaac Buchanan, some beauty products that she might be thinking that she want to put out at a later date, and her popularity is what would enable her to sell. Except the press that she is getting is nothing like the press that Lisa Hanna was getting, and she's nothing at all like Lisa Hanna. She never represented her country in anything, as far as I know. Right? And so South St. James and the Parliament of Jamaica is a stepping stone for her future career. That is what I suspect is going on. And so every week there must be a new drama. Every time a speaker is speaking, they mustn't stay in the seat that they were assigned to and speak. No, they have to come to the front, and always she must be in the picture. I want you to go back and notice. And if you want proof and evidence that this is orchestrated to ensure that every week she's in the picture, look at what happened when Denise Daly spoke a few days ago. Denise Daly is in the third group. You have that group close to the speaker where Mark Golding is. You have one in the middle, and in the third group, that's where she was, and that's where she decided to do her speech, right at the front in that row. So Nekeisha Burchell took up herself and walked all the way over to where Denise Daly was going to make her speech. She sat in the row behind Denise to her right and left of our screen. Angela Brownberg, she took up for herself and gone over there and sat down beside Denise while she was making her speech, which meant that those parliamentarians, the new ones, didn't get an opportunity for them constituents to see them. And this is evidence that the parliament is being used by this young woman in order to advance herself. She's not there for the people. And you're going to hear her in this video talking about all the things that she's there to represent the people, and she's trying to represent the people. When last you hear she talk about South St. James, all of the drama that she's involved in and the protest, what does that have to do with South St. James? When she's orchestrating, making sure that she's in the photo, and she's the name that is mentioned at the end of a sitting, you ever hear South St. James calling her that? No, it's all about her, and she's using them to advance her future career, whatever that may be. And this, I suspect, is what she's up to. The first video clip I'm going to play for you is that of Marisa Dalrymple-Philibert, her calling out of Nekeisha Burchell in the Parliament. But I want you to pay very close attention as Marisa got up to speak. Look at the opposition side and see who will be there as senior members. I saw Philip Paulwell, Tony Hilton, and Natalie Nita Garvey, because Mark Golding had got up and left the Parliament just as Dalrymple started to speak.
I will now ask the member from Trelawney South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise this
The member
evening.
from St. Andrew West, please turn off your mic. Thank you.
I rise this evening as a former Speaker of this House, and I had discussions with my senior minister, who is also a former Speaker of this House. and I have heard all the comments, and I have seen everything. And I really think we have reached a time in this parliament where we must be absolutely honest with ourselves. And there are members on that side of the House that I have a lot of regard for. They oppose certain things, and they do it in a manner that is how the parliaments of this country have always operated. And one of the overriding things that I know as a speaker, please, one of the overriding principles is that the speaker's ruling must always be respected. Always. No speaker is perfect. You might not always get it right, but the speaker's ruling is always to be respected. And in all the years that I've been here, when I sat as the speaker, I had a lot of disagreements with me. But never has this parliament on either side ever gone into what I have seen. And I make bold to say that this is a new breed of parliamentarians, because never before have we had this type of behavior. I have been the speaker. I have been opposed. We have had differences, but nobody has behaved in the way members of this new parliament has behaved to any speaker. And I'm going to say very frankly, it brings back to my mind the comment that was made originally before the speaker was chosen. A member of the People's National Party had put out a notice. They did not want the present speaker or myself to be the speaker. I'm not the speaker, but the speaker is the speaker that has been chosen. She is the speaker. She is the Prime Minister's wife. Hold on. And I congratulate your member who spoke this evening. She spoke about behavior and the way we treat our women. I want to say it is not a good look for us to treat a female who is a speaker. And I'm going to go further. I'm going to make very bold, because many people have said things, and many people have gone wrong, many people have gone right. But you know, the older members of parliament, I look and I see the present leader of opposition business, who was also the leader of opposition business when I was a speaker. And you just watch his profile. Never before have we had the type of behavior. And I'm calling it as I see it. The member, hold on, the member on that side from South St. James, I am saying particularly to her, I have never seen anybody behave to any speaker the way she has done. And hold on, I want to say that the member, I am not to call names, that spoke just before me. No, I'm not calling your name, but I'm saying to you, although you have had difficulties, and although you have said things, and although I have never heard you behave the way that the member from South St. James as a female has brought into this parliament. I'm calling her out because she's young, she's new, she's female, and we have a female speaker. And if you do anything with the revision, it doesn't matter what you do about the standing orders. The standing orders, if you revise it 1,000,000 times over, the speaker's ruling must always be respected. And that is why the member who spoke before me came into this parliament and made an apology for certain incidents. You have never done it, and your behavior has brought a new high to this thing. I am speaking on my feet, and I'm saying to you now that maybe many people will not say it openly. I stand this afternoon because I feel strongly about it. And I feel that the Speaker, in her position as the Prime Minister's wife and as a female, yes, I say it as it is because that's part of the objection. But let me tell you something. Never before has anybody been as disrespectful. And I could go on and on. And nobody, no other member that is old has behaved the way you have behaved. I say to you, no other member of the opposition, and you should not speak to me across the aisle. I'm addressing the Parliament. And I am saying to you, I am not inciting anybody. I don't care if you don't like it, because I don't like the attack. I do not like the attack. It is obvious. Member, I do not like and I do not think it is right. And I say it with absolutely no malice. I say it this afternoon because I heard your own member speak about gender. And let me tell you, there are so many females that have joined this Parliament that are excellent, oppose, and do not behave that way. It is a new trend. For God's sake, let us stop it. And while we review the standing orders, just let us remember that if you review it 1,000,000 times over, the Speaker's views and ruling must always be respected. And I really am...
Member from St. James South. Member from St. James South. Member from St. James South. You had your mic on earlier. Do you want to contribute? Next is the member from St. Andrew West.
Marisa Dalrymple-Philibert, her comments appear to have been very mild, but they were very, very cutting and very sharp. And it's only when you listen to Nekeisha Burchell's response that you realize how much damage it would have done to her ego, her confidence, all of her hopes and what she hoped to have gained by all of this scheming and planning that she's going on with. It has all been upended. And it's only when you listen to her carefully, how she's defending herself and aligning herself with Sam Sharp and talking about her forebear, Burchell, and trying to defend her bad behavior in the Parliament as her trying to, represent her people. That is when you know how badly Dalrymple damaged her. But in what part of that 8-minute speech did Dalrymple damage her? And there were two parts. And I'm going to play the one that I think is the most damaging first. 2 points that Dalrymple made that must have cut her to the core.
I am speaking on my feet, and I'm saying to you now that maybe many people will not say it openly. I stand this afternoon because I feel strongly about it. And I feel that the Speaker, in her position as the Prime Minister's wife and as a female, yes, I say it as it is because that's part of the objection. But let me tell you something. Never before has anybody been as disrespectful. And I could go on and on. And nobody, no other member that is old has behaved the way you have behaved.
To my mind, of all the things that Dalrymple said, this statement, to me, was the most cutting of them all, particularly when she made reference to the Speaker in her position as the Prime Minister's wife. She started by saying, and I'm saying to you now, maybe many people will not say it openly. I stand this afternoon because I feel strongly about it. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever remember people coming up to you and talking to you. Maybe you're perfect, so those things don't happen to you. But Has anybody ever come to you and say, you know, a lot of people not going to come and say it, but, and then them start to tell you something. How it make you feel? Can you remember or can you imagine if it never happened to you? To me, it is one of the most intimidating thing a person could come to you and say. They not just come to you and say, you're doing something that they may not like. Then come to you and tell you that other people. So in your imagination, now you start to see other people talking about this thing, and none of them are coming to you and say it to you except for this person. You feel away, you feel bad. You feel away. So when Dalrymple said these magic words, and I'm saying to you now, maybe many people will not say it openly. They might chatter. That's your thing in our mind, The people might talk about her behavior. Our colleagues, people will probably smile with her. People will, run joke with her. This is what they're probably saying in their mind or them saying to one another. But they're not going to come to her and say it. That is what Dalrymple was saying to her. Maybe. So no matter things say, is me alone have the problem with you. It's what Dalrymple was saying. You have other people that have the same problem with you. I am the one that is going to come out and tell you to your face that your behavior is not right. That to me must have been very shocking to Nekeisha Burchell. That there are people that she thinks is with her that may not be with her at all. And it is going to be even more believable that that is the case when she saw nobody on her side who got up to speak in her defense. Not Paulwell, not Tony Hilton, not Isaac Buchanan, not Natalie Nita Garvey, not even Angela Bromberg, who is usually vocal when it comes to these things. She never got up either and tried to defend her. So the idea is now soaking into her mind that the people that she laughing and talking with and think that they are with her and then back her and maybe she think that they are friends. There is a possibility that they are not with her at all. She now starts to look at everybody suspiciously. That is what would happen to her. She started to look at everybody, and when they come to her and I say nothing to her, she wonder if them or one of them will chat her. And I say things behind her back that them not like her behavior. And them think she out of order and speaking to the speaker in a certain way because she had the Prime Minister's wife. Can you imagine the upheaval, the emotional turmoil that is going on in that young woman's mind? The embarrassment, the shame, the feeling of betrayal. But the shock to her system would not have ended when she realized that there are people who are criticizing her behavior behind her back. Another shock would have hit her when Dalrymple said, and I feel very strongly about it, and I feel that the speaker in her position as the Prime Minister's wife and as a female, yes, I say it as it is, because that's part of the objection. Now, when she heard those words, how would she have interpreted it? There are two ways to interpret it. Dalrymple could be speaking about the objection of the PNP in general, right? Is to Juliet Holness as speaker and being at the same time the Prime Minister's wife. However, she was not speaking about the PNP. She was actually speaking about Burchell. So Burchell hear her saying these magic words. Burchell hear her saying these particular words, would have interpreted it in a way to say that the objection is her objection. The reason why she's behaving the way she's behaving to the speaker is because she is the Prime Minister's wife. And you remember we out there beat her upon it, especially when she came out to talk about rumor has it that she's dating the Prime Minister, seemingly to reveal, some secret idea she might have in her mind that maybe that is what she would like to do. So when Dalrymple said that to Nekeisha, in my mind, it would have been devastating to hear the words in the parliament, knowing that Jamaica is not only listening at the time, but will come and listen because it's Cascas. That would have floored her. That was not the only knock she got that afternoon. There was a third one.
I say to you, no other member of the opposition, and you should not speak to me across the aisle. I'm addressing the parliament.
Now, this is what in Jamaica we generally call a big insult. That was an insult. I'm not talking to you. So it's as if somebody is talking and you know, dip your mouth into it and them say, you know, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to somebody. You understand? That was a big insult. So she had to endure that. Her face would have been flushed with embarrassment when Dalrymple said those simple words. She had no choice more than to shut up. What she received in the parliament last Tuesday was a very heavy set down. And so when she did this video that you're about to see, she's been defensive. And then she started to make up stories talking about what she's doing in the parliament that people are objecting to. Or in any event, that is the impression that she wanted to give. Is all about her trying to defend the people of South St. James. And you will know that is foolish talking. I'm going to be making some point about her commentary. And before I do, let us look at what is the role of the leader of opposition business in the parliament. It says the leader of opposition business in parliament orchestrates the opposition's parliamentary strategy, working with the leader of government business to schedule debates. They coordinate opposition members, manage debate timetables, negotiate legislative compromises, and raise procedural points of order to ensure government accountability. Whose responsibility is it to ensure that there is accountability of the government? The leader of opposition business, not any other member and not the leader of opposition. It went on to say in parliamentary systems like the Westminster model practiced in Jamaica, this role is distinct from the overall leader of the opposition. While the opposition leader sets the overarching policy and political vision, the leader of opposition business handles the day-to-day tactical execution within the chamber. Everything is about the leader of opposition business when it comes to anything to do with the opposition, right? Not ordinary members of the House and not the opposition leader.
Today, I'm at Croydon Estate in Catadupa. This is not just another beautiful place in Jamaica or in South St. James. This is the very estate on which one of Jamaica's national heroes, Samuel Sharp, was born and where he grew up. And if I point just over those hills, right over there, that is Garlands. That's where I come from. That is where my roots from Reverend Thomas Burchell, who worked with Sam Sharp, came from. So today I'm standing between the place that shaped me and the place that shaped one of Jamaica's greatest sons. These hills have always produced people who refused to bow, people who refused to accept injustice, people who believed freedom was worth sacrifice. The spirit of the Maroons lives in these hills. The courage of Samuel Sharp lives in these hills. And in many ways, that same spirit runs through my veins. Not a spirit of conflict, but a spirit of courage. A spirit that says, when something is wrong, you don't quietly look away. You stand, you speak, you serve. It also made me ask myself a simple question. What did they call Sam Sharp before they called him a national hero? I doubt they called him courageous. I imagine they called him unruly, troublesome, disruptive, dangerous even. Over the last few days, someone called me a new breed. And I've been reflecting on those words. And my response is simple. Thank you. Because if being a new breed means bringing something different from what Jamaicans have been made to accept for far too long, then I accept the label. Because if being a new breed means bringing something different from what Jamaicans have been made to accept for far too long, then I accept the label.
What is she talking about? You understand what she's talking about here? It look like she's mad out. Eh? Because if being a new breed means bringing something different from what Jamaicans have been made to accept for far too long, then I accept the label. She was told that she was a new breed in the parliament. So when she talk about she being a new breed is bringing something different from what we are accustomed in the parliament, what is she talking about? The rudeness and the disrespect that she's been accused of. That is what she said that she bringing that is different to the parliament. Her speaking out of turn on matters that is no damn business of hers. When you have a leader of opposition business whose job it is to handle any matter of concern to do with the parliamentary procedure or with the standing orders. That's Paulwell's business, not yours. So she's trespassing on the authority of other people and enough of herself. And then come with this crazed statement about being a new breed, bringing something different to the parliament from what Jamaicans have been made. That means to say that Jamaicans should not have been made to expect the parliamentarians to be respectful of the speaker's ruling. So she going to bring something different. And she accept the label. The woman I'm out.
If being a new breed means believing that integrity matters, I'll wear that label too. And if it means believing that public office is about service and not status, I'll take the label. If it means believing that courage is more important than comfort, I'll wear that too. And if it means believing that no office and no title should ever be above accountability, then I'll wear that label proudly.
Except that that label does not belong to you, you damn dunce. Your colleague said, go and read the standing orders. You're a damn dunce. What accountability has to do with you? That's not your responsibility. You're not the leader of opposition business. You're out of line. So when you heard Isaac Buchanan saying how embarrassing it is to hear some of them talk on topic that they know nothing about, and they won't take the time to go read the standing orders, you understand the frustration of the young man? This is an example of what he would be talking about.
Over the last several weeks, I have been criticized. I have been singled out. I have been insulted. I have been threatened, even in Parliament, not because I have broken the law, not because I have been disrespectful nor dishonest, but because I refused to sit quietly. Let me tell you why. I did not enter public life to become comfortable. I entered public life to become useful. I went there to represent the people who sent me there from these hills. I owe them my voice. I owe them my courage. I owe them my conscience.
Indeed, the people of South St. James sent you to the house above our advice and tell them don't send you there because you're not a politician, right? And while you are there, how many times you get up and say anything about South St. James? You're talking about the position in the parliament and accountability and justice. Those are not your roles, darling. You weren't sent there to talk about what are going on in the parliament. You talk more about what going on in the parliament, which is none of your damn business because you don't have that role. That is not your role. You're overstepping your bounds. And what you're sent there for, that is not what you're talking about. You're not talking about the people of South St. James business.
You see, if my people still cannot get reliable water, if our roads remain broken, if our schools need attention, if our communities continue to wait for the opportunities they deserve, then my conscience will never allow me to sit quietly, smile politely, and pretend that everything is fine.
And this now is where she come with her Nancy story, trying to give the impression that the reason why she she's been called out in the parliament is because she advocate for water and all kind of something for our people. The people of South St. James watching the parliament will know say it's foolish to say a talk. You're there banging desk and protesting. It's not about them getting water and school. It's all about you. You're positioning yourself to make sure that you're captured by the camera every time the camera pan over upon the opposition side. It's not about them. It's about you. So for you to come now on this video claiming that the reason why you're being called out, because that is what you're saying, the reason why you're being called out or you're not going to stay quiet is because the people in South St. James lacking in this and lacking in that. Poppycock.
That is not why the people of South St. James elected me. Greatness does not grow by accident. Greatness grows where children have opportunity, where communities are not forgotten, where people don't have to live under tent, and yes, where they have representatives willing to stand for them. Because if we stop fighting for these communities, if we stop demanding better, if we dare stop asking, then we make it harder for the next generation of greatness to be born. So I refuse to let that happen on my watch, because if I stop speaking for the people who elected me simply because it becomes uncomfortable, then I will have broken the trust they placed in me when they elected me. That is a promise I absolutely refuse to break. So they called me a new breed. I've thought about it, I've reflected on it, and I've come to the conclusion. Thank you. If being a new breed means I will ask difficult questions, even when it makes powerful people uncomfortable, then thank you. If being a new breed means I will stand when it is easier to sit, I will speak when it is easier to remain silent, and that I will represent when it's easier to stay away, then thank you. That is the greatest compliment you could have ever paid me.
So this is how she responded to the stinging remarks of Dalrymple. That is how she responded to it. And then tried to turn the new breed statement into a positive and advantage. In the process, because she don't know the standing order and don't know nothing about the parliament, she went and revealed something about her behavior in the parliament and claiming she's there to see to government's accountability, justice, and all kind of something that is not her business. What is her business is to advocate for her people in South St. James, to bring motions to the House to introduce legislation for the benefit of her people, and she's not doing that. What she's doing instead is seeking attention. She wants to be the attention of the weak. And the people of South St. James are the furthest from her mind. When you go on her page, one of the most fascinating things you notice, go in the comment section. This video was taken off Instagram. Go in the comment section. And what you will find is that there is not one negative comment. She's going through the comments and taking out all the negative. And this is proof, if there's any, she's badly damaged by what Dalrymple said. Well, this is where I'm going to leave it, folks. Let me thank you all for joining me today. Please remember, if you have not yet given the video a thumbs up, give the video a thumbs up, please. Share the video and subscribe. And let me know what you think about all of this and what it is that Dalrymple said and what it is that Burchell said in reply. Let me know, please. So until next time, take very good care of yourselves and walk good.